Rain hammered the windows of the small Boston apartment as Marcus stared at the blinking cursor on his cracked laptop screen. His resume sat open, unfinished for the third night in a row. Bills were scattered across the coffee table, some unopened, most overdue. Outside, a siren wailed through the icy streets. Inside, silence screamed louder. His phone vibrated. A message from his sister. "Mom's birthday next week. Can you come? She misses you." He sighed, typing back, "I'll try." He wouldn't. He couldn't afford a train ticket, let alone the guilt trip that came with going home empty-handed again. It wasn't always like this. 3 years ago, Marcus was on a fast track in tech sales, living in a high-rise in Atlanta, rubbing shoulders with VPs and dreaming of his own startup. Now he was 33, broke, and delivering groceries for an app that barely paid enough for gas. That night, scrolling through YouTube on autopilot, something stopped him. A video thumbnail. Napoleon Hill's 6-month plan to success. Start today. He almost skipped it. Too many fake gurus, too much fluff, but something about the title felt personal. He clicked. The voiceover was slow, deliberate. Hill's words echoed over black and white clips of Depression-era America. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Marcus leaned forward. The video outlined a 6-month plan. Daily discipline, goal clarity, accountability. No magic, just hard work, focused energy, and time. By the end of the video, Marcus's chest felt tight, not with fear, but something sharper. Hope. He grabbed a notebook, ripped out the bills, and wrote in all caps across the page, 180 days, nothing to lose. Below it, define one clear goal, break it into monthly targets. Daily action no matter what, no excuses. Track everything. Evaluate and adapt weekly. The heat kicked on in the apartment, ancient pipes groaning like they were waking up too. Marcus didn't sleep much that night. He stayed up setting a timer, outlining goals, even making a list of people he'd need to reconnect with. Mentors, old colleagues, anyone who might guide him or open a door. He didn't feel better, not yet. But he felt awake. The next morning, Boston was gray and cold, but Marcus had already laced his boots by 6 a.m. He looked in the mirror and didn't like what he saw, but he looked anyway. Then he said it out loud, voice rough but certain. Day 1. He stepped out into the wind. Marcus sat at the cafe with a notebook open, the smell of burnt espresso and wet coats filling the air. He wasn't here to relax. This was a work session, his first power hour, as the video called it. 1 hour a day to think, reflect, plan. His goal had to be clear, measurable, and emotional. That's what the video said. Something that scared him just enough to mean something, but not so big it would crush him. He scribbled for 20 minutes, crossed things out, rewrote them. Until finally, he stared at the sentence in front of him. In 6 months, I will land a job in tech sales making 75K plus base. The number wasn't random. It was what he made before everything fell apart, before he'd burned out, quit with no backup, and watched his savings disappear while just figuring things out. He hadn't really figured anything out. The goal felt almost stupid. Like saying he wanted to climb back up a hill he'd already fallen off, but it also felt like fire in his chest, and that was something. He turned the page. Wrote down the months. April. Update resume. Reconnect with 10 old contacts. Mock interviews. May. Apply to 30 roles. Improve pitch. Get feedback. June. Network events. LinkedIn revamp. July. Target 5 dream companies. August. Interview, follow-up, refine. September. Get hired. It was rough, but it was real. But he looked up to see a woman across from him, maybe late 20s, sketching in a worn leather journal. She had that focused, don't bother me energy, like she knew why she was here. Marcus envied that. He used to be like that. His phone buzzed. Another grocery order. He almost declined. But then he remembered Rule 3. Daily action, no matter what. He'd need money to make this plan work. Rent still existed. So did hunger. 2 hours later, while delivering 3 bags of almond milk and protein bars to a high-rise, he bumped into a man in the elevator wearing a company badge. Versatech, a mid-sized cloud software company. Marcus knew them. The man noticed his gaze. "You know the company?" Marcus nodded. "Yeah, actually. I used to be in tech sales. Versatech's platform, solid lead gen tools." The man raised an eyebrow. "You looking?" Marcus hesitated. "I'm getting back into it. 6-month comeback plan." The guy laughed. "Well, that's refreshingly honest." He pulled out a card. "Shoot me a note. We're hiring SDRs. Entry level, but it's a door." As the elevator opened, Marcus stepped out in shock, card in hand. The man was already gone. He looked down at the card, then up at the sky, grey and cracked open with drizzle. For the first time in months, it felt like it was raining for him, not on him. 3 weeks in, Marcus hit the wall. Not physically, emotionally, mentally. The kind of wall that sneaks up in silence, then crashes down all at once. It started with an email. "Thank you for your interest, but we've moved forward with other candidates." Then another, and another. By Friday, Marcus had sent out 22 tailored applications. He'd rewritten his resume 4 times, recorded himself doing mock pitches. Still nothing. The guy from Versatech never replied to his follow-up email. No interviews, no callbacks. He sat in his apartment that night, lights off, half-eaten takeout on the counter. The notebook with his 6-month plan lay face down on the couch, like it was ashamed to look at him. He turned on the TV just for noise. An ad came on. Shiny people in suits talking about dreams and breakthroughs. It felt cruel. He muted it. Then his phone lit up. A video notification. When nothing is working, Napoleon Hill's hardest lesson. He stared at it for a long minute, then hit play. Hill's voice, scratchy and distant, filled the room. More people quit in month 1 than month 5, not because they failed, but because they never let the seed grow. Marcus felt something shift, not hope, resistance. He stood up, grabbed the notebook, and opened to the notes he'd made from day 1. There it was. No excuses, track everything. He flipped to a blank page and began writing. What's working? Daily structure, writing goals each morning, learning new tools, what's not working. Cold applications only, waiting for replies, no consistent outreach. He underlined that last one twice. He needed people, not just job boards, not just LinkedIn posts, actual conversations. The next day, he went to a Saturday morning startup meetup at a library near MIT. He didn't know anyone, didn't feel like he belonged, but he wore the one blazer he still had, carried resumes in his backpack, and made himself smile. That's where he met Rachel. She was speaking on a panel, mid-30s, sharp, kind of messy in a cool way, and clearly respected. She talked about building sales teams from scratch. Her energy lit up the room. After the session, Marcus waited until the crowd thinned. Then he walked up and introduced himself. He expected a polite nod. Instead, she asked questions, real ones, listened, took his resume. Told him to email her Monday. Walking back in the crisp afternoon air, Marcus didn't feel like he'd made it. He felt like someone standing outside a locked building who just spotted a window, open, just a crack. He would push. Monday came. Marcus hit send on the email to Rachel before 8 a.m. He kept it short, professional, attached his resume, referred back to their conversation at the panel. He stared at the screen after clicking send, half expecting an instant reply. But the inbox stayed quiet. 1 hour, 2. Lunchtime came and went. By 5 p.m., nothing. The next morning, still silence. He reminded himself of the rule. No excuses, daily action. He sent 5 more emails to old contacts, updated his LinkedIn headline, rewrote his elevator pitch. On Wednesday, the reply finally came. Hey Marcus, great to meet you Saturday. You've clearly got drive. We're not hiring right now, but I know someone who might be. I'm connecting you two. Rachel. Hope sparked. A thread was forming. But the next email, the referral, led to another closed door. Appreciate the intro, but no current openings. Feel free to stay in touch. That night, Marcus stared at the ceiling in bed, heart pounding. What if this whole 6-month thing was just a fantasy, a distraction from the fact that he'd peaked already? The next morning, he almost didn't open the notebook, but he forced himself. Page 1 stared back. 180 days. Nothing to lose. He turned to week 4's goals. One item stood out. Call Jared. Jared had been his manager in Atlanta, demanding, yes, but honest and fair. Marcus hadn't spoken to him since the day he quit. Burnt out and too proud to admit he was drowning. He found Jared's number, hit dial. Marcus? Jared's voice was sharp, confused. Hey. Yeah, it's been a while. Long pause. I almost didn't pick up. Thought you were a recruiter, Jared said, then chuckled. So what's up? I'm calling because I'm trying to get back on track. 6-month goal. I'm owning what I messed up before. I want back in. Sales, hustle, structure, the whole deal. And I thought of you. Silence. Then Jared sighed. Well, you've got guts, I'll give you that. Marcus exhaled. I'm not hiring directly, Jared continued. But I'll connect you to an old colleague in New York. She's running a team, needs someone hungry. Might be a fit. No promises. That was more than Marcus expected. Thank you, he said genuinely. After the call, Marcus went outside and walked. Boston's air had that crisp post-winter bite, sunshine that didn't warm your skin but at least looked like hope. He realized something then. The 6-month plan wasn't magic, it was a mirror. It showed him how much he'd lost, but more importantly, what he still had left. And right now, what he had was momentum. The email came on a Thursday afternoon, 4.5 weeks into Marcus's 6-month plan. Subject line, interview request, Valor Edge Software, NY. He blinked twice before opening it. Rachel's contact had come through after all. 2 days later, Marcus was on a Zoom call with Tanya Bennett, a senior sales director with the kind of calm intensity that made it hard to look away. I've heard good things, she said after his opening pitch. Tell me why you left the industry. He hesitated. This was the moment, the easy lie or the harder truth. I burned out, he said, steady. I chased performance and ignored burnout until it took everything. I'm not proud of it, but I've been rebuilding, deliberately. I've got a 6-month plan and I'm halfway through. I'm here because I believe I can still do this better than before. Tanya looked at him for a moment too long. Then she nodded. You've got 5 minutes. Sell me this platform. He did. When the call ended, Marcus just sat there breathing hard, his shirt clinging to his back with sweat. That night he allowed himself something he hadn't in weeks. Dinner out. Nothing fancy, just a burrito and a soda, but he ate it sitting in the park, watching people rush by with bags and phones and lives. The next morning Tanya emailed him, "Let's talk offer. Call me at 3 p.m. Marcus stood frozen, phone in hand, rereading the line again and again. At 2:59 p.m., he paced the length of the apartment like a man about to propose. The call came in right on time. Marcus, Tanya said, we want to bring you on board. It's not the senior role you had before. It's an SDR position, base of 60K, commission potential up to 90K. Start in 3 weeks, full remote. You'd train with our Boston regional team for the first 2 months. Marcus blinked. So, this is official? I'll send the offer letter tomorrow, she said. Welcome back. After the call, he sat down on the edge of the bed, stared at the wall. No tears, just weight. Like his body had finally remembered what relief felt like. But the next morning, there was no email. By noon, still nothing. At 4 p.m., he emailed Tanya. No reply. By the next day, panic began creeping in like water under a closed door. On Monday, her assistant finally responded. Apologies, Tanya's team decided to pause hiring due to a shift in Q2 priorities. We'll keep your info on file. He read it 3 times, then once more paused and opened his notebook to today's date. Then wrote in slow, steady letters, opportunity lost, lesson gained, keep building. He had 132 days left. Day 180. Marcus stood outside a red brick office building in downtown Boston, early morning light catching the glass windows like gold. Inside, people were already at their desks. He checked his reflection in the door, tie straight, shirt pressed, eyes focused. He hadn't slept much. Not from nerves, just everything. 6 months ago, he was barely getting by. delivering groceries, watching the days blur. Now he was standing in front of Everlane Data, about to start his first day as an account development manager. It wasn't ValorEdge, it wasn't Versatech, it wasn't even in his original plan, but it was real, and he had earned it. The job came through a chain of introductions. Jared's contact passed him to a recruiter, who connected him to a former client-turned-hiring manager. 3 interviews, 1 product demo, and a 2-week wait. When the offer came, it wasn't flashy. $72K base, plus incentives, but it was his. And more than that, it was on his terms. No shortcut, no favor. Just daily effort, tracked and refined until something gave. Inside the building, he rode the elevator up to the 3rd floor. His badge still smelled like plastic. He clutched his notebook in his bag, the same one he'd started this whole plan in. The pages were bent now, coffee-stained and scratched with notes, goals, crossed-out ideas, and random quotes he'd jotted down on hard days. At his desk, a small welcome sign waited. "Marcus, welcome to the team." A simple thing, but it made his throat tighten. He logged in. The screen blinked awake. His new email, clean and official, stared back. Then, instinctively, he pulled out the notebook. The very last page. At the top, he wrote, "Day 180. Success is not a moment. It's the weight of every quiet choice along the way. And beneath it wins. Rebuilt confidence, found mentors, grew through failure, landed the job, became someone I'm proud of." At lunch, he stepped outside for a quick walk. The air was warmer now, hints of spring on the breeze. He paused at a small bench and sat watching people rush by, just like he used to. But this time, he wasn't on the outside looking in. He'd made it back, not to where he was before, but to where he was supposed to be. He smiled, and for the first time in a long time, it felt earned.